The night was thick, like black coffee after a sleepless stretch. Seattle hid beneath the rain, fine and stubborn, as if God himself had decided to wash the city clean of its memories. Emma Carter sat at her laptop, wrapped in a sweater that smelled of coffee, paint, and just a little of Nathan, or rather, of who he used to be to her. The cursor blinked in sync with her heartbeat. The email began simply, "Hi, Nathan," but nothing that followed was simple. She'd been writing for 3 hours, unaware of how the night outside was dying. She wrote about what had been eating at her, how he could stay silent for weeks and then return as if nothing had happened, about how she'd been afraid of losing herself while trying to be convenient, and about how, after everything, she still remembered the way he laughed in the park when their dog, Finn, stole a hot dog from a homeless musician. "I don't want you to come back," she wrote. "I just want to stop carrying you inside me, to throw you away like a ruined sketch I keep trying to fix. But I can't, because it's part of me." A tear fell onto the keyboard. She wiped it away with her palm and exhaled. "That's it," she whispered to herself. "You're free, Emma." She clicked Save as Draft, and then somehow, instead of closing the window, she hit Send. "No!" she cried, but it was too late. The screen flashed, Message sent. She froze, like stone. A chill ran across her skin. A few seconds later, the delivery notification popped up. The email was gone, for good. Emma wanted to turn everything off, the laptop, the light, her thoughts. She'd never meant for him to see it. It was a confession without an audience, just a spill of everything she'd held inside, meant to stay in the dark. That night, she fell asleep on the couch, clutching a pillow as if she could smother her shame with it. In the morning, her phone buzzed. A message. She didn't want to look, but she did. From Nathan Miller. Subject: Maybe this is goodbye. I'm not the person you meant to send this to, but I read it, and I couldn't stay indifferent. I saw myself in your words, the things I once needed to say but never could. Emma reread it several times. Her brain refused to process it. Who the hell was Nathan Miller? She checked the address. It looked the same, almost identical except for a different domain. She'd sent the email to the wrong Nathan. At first, she wanted to just apologize and forget about it, but his words lingered. I saw myself in your words. She started typing a reply. I'm sorry, that was a mistake. You were supposed to delete it. And yet she added, but thank you for reading. It wasn't my best moment. His reply came almost immediately. Sometimes it's in those moments that we're the most real. If you ever feel like continuing, I'm just here to listen. No judgment. Emma smiled. For the first time in weeks. A day passed, then another. She hadn't planned to write, but the words pushed themselves out anyway. You ask why I couldn't let go. Because he wasn't just a person. He was my mirror. And when he disappeared, I stopped seeing myself. And you? Who couldn't you let go? The reply came late that evening. I lost someone I loved, but not because of a breakup. Life sometimes takes without warning. Was it her? Yes, my wife. Those words stopped her. The world seemed to quiet down. She felt her heart squeeze gently, not with pity, but with the shock of an unexpected connection. Two strangers, two voids, suddenly echoing each other. That night she wrote longer than usual. Her emails were no longer about her ex. They were about life after loss, about the fear of starting over, about how true honesty can be scarier than loneliness. And his replies were warm, thoughtful, almost painfully sincere. It seems to me, he wrote, that we're both trying to fix something that can't be fixed, but maybe we don't have to. Maybe we just have to let ourselves keep living, even if the echoes inside haven't faded yet. Emma stared at the screen, realizing she found herself waiting for his emails like a breath of fresh air. She didn't know who this Nathan Miller really was, but with every word she felt her world, which had recently shrunk to a single empty apartment, beginning to breathe again. And somewhere in that new breathing, something dangerous was taking root, and beautiful. Something that would make her hit send again, but this time for a different reason. 3 weeks passed. Autumn in Seattle was clear as glass, cold, crisp, smelling of rain and wet bark. Every morning, Emma opened her inbox before coffee, before checking client messages, before even speaking to anyone else. Her day no longer began with the news or phone calls, it began with his emails. They didn't discuss small things, not the weather, not new movies. Their emails ran deeper, almost like journals. She wrote about her childhood, when she was afraid to draw in front of others because her teacher said her colors were too loud, about how she learned to hide her true shades. Nathan replied with his own stories, short, with soft humor and pain woven between the lines, about the class he taught, about a student who wrote poems that felt like apologies to the world. Sometimes he included passages from books he loved. True courage is speaking, even when no one is listening. One day he wrote, "Have you noticed that letters are the most honest form of silence? We speak when we can't be silent anymore, but still, it's silence, recorded in letters." Those words settled inside her like a melody. Emma began to draw again, not for work, not for clients, just for herself. She sketched rain on glass, hands brushing through air, empty chairs by the window. On one sketch, she drew a man in profile, someone she had never seen, but somehow knew it was him, Nathan Miller. That evening, for the first time, she dared to write something different, not just a confession. Have you ever thought that fate sometimes makes mistakes on purpose? I sent the email to the wrong person, and maybe it was the most right thing I've done all year. His reply came the next day. I think some mistakes are doors that open on their own once we finally stop standing in front of the locked ones. And are you ready to walk through? She asked. After that, he didn't respond for 3 days. For her, it was like a cold shower, as if someone had suddenly turned off the light in the room she had grown used to breathing in. When his email finally arrived, she drew in a breath, as if she had just surfaced from underwater. Sorry for the silence. I went to the place where she and I lived. I needed to say goodbye. I don't know if I'm ready to walk through, but the door, it's open. The lines were short, but there was movement between them, like a crack forming in ice before spring. The following week, they talked about fear. Not love, not the future, fear itself. I'm afraid to trust again, Emma wrote. Afraid someone will take me apart again like a model and leave only the outlines. And I'm afraid I've gotten used to silence, and that if someone breaks it, I won't be able to live without the noise. Maybe we're just learning to breathe alongside silence. Or maybe we're already breathing each other in, came his answer. After that, she sat for a long time staring at the screen, unable to look away. The words felt dangerous, like fire that could still be extinguished, but only if left untouched. One evening, Emma decided it was time to see who he looked like. She opened social media and typed his name, Nathan Miller, Boston. From the dozen faces that appeared, she recognized him immediately. The photo, a man with warm eyes, dark hair, a gentle fatigue in his smile. Next to him, a photo of a woman, his wife. In the comments under an old post, dozens of condolences. She was loved. She'll always be with you. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. She closed the page, but the woman's face stayed in her memory. She had been real, and maybe still was, lingering between them. That night, Emma didn't write an email. The next morning, he wrote first. "You disappeared. I thought maybe I said something wrong." She hesitated for a long time, then replied, "I just saw who she was, and I realize you're still close to her." A long pause, then the response, "Yes, but it's not the same close as before. She would have wanted me to live, and I'm trying. Maybe that's why I wrote to you that day." For the first time, Emma cried not from pain, but relief. She felt as if something had shifted between them, invisible but irreversible. Now each of their emails began not with "hi," but with something more personal, short, almost domestic. "Did you breathe today?" "Yes. And you?" "Learning a little." And when one evening he wrote, "I'll be flying to Seattle next month. Conference. Maybe coffee?" Emma didn't reply right away. She just stared at the screen, feeling her heart beating louder than the rain outside the window. Now their story was stretching beyond the screen. And maybe, where words end, the real thing begins. Seattle welcomed December, damp, with wind that smelled of sea and iron. The rain wasn't falling, it hung in the air, soft, sticky, like a premonition. Emma stood in a cafe near Pike Place, holding a latte with both hands. She had arrived early, 20 minutes early. All that time, her body felt like it didn't belong, every movement either too much or too careful. She wore a dark navy coat and a red scarf thread she twisted unconsciously between her fingers. She knew she could leave at any moment. No one was forcing her to stay, but she stayed. The door chimed. She saw him immediately. No embellishments, no wow effect. Just a man who looked a little tired, a little lost, but the eyes were the same as in the emails, attentive, calm, delicately aware. "Emma?" "Yes." Her voice trembled despite her efforts. He sat across from her, took off his coat. For a moment, they were both silent, as if words had suddenly become too small to convey everything happening inside them. "I think I'm a little nervous," he admitted, smiling. "And I'm a little more than a little," she replied. They both laughed, and the tension melted just a little. They talked for a long time, not like two people meeting for the first time, but like those who were finally continuing a conversation that had been going on for months. About work, favorite cafes, and how hard it is to let people go, even when you know you should. But when the conversation touched on his past, he looked down. He started, then stopped. "I thought I'd let her go, but maybe I haven't." "That's not a crime," Emma said softly. "Letting go isn't the same as forgetting." He nodded. And that moment, honest, unadorned, was perhaps the most real of all. After the cafe, they walked along the waterfront. The wind whipped under their collars, the gray sea rustled against the pier. Emma caught his gaze from time to time, not romantic, not passionate, but human, with warmth without promises. "I think," he said suddenly, "we weren't waiting for each other. We were just looking for someone to really talk to." "Maybe," she agreed, "but that doesn't make us any less real." He smiled, and that smile, without pressure, without story, felt better than any confession. They met 2 more times while he was in the city. They walked, laughed, argued about books. But they didn't touch. They didn't fall into maybe we're meant for each other. Their presence was enough. Just being near each other, no screen between them. On the last evening, before he left, they stood by a taxi. "I don't want to say goodbye," he said. "It sounds too final." "Then say, until the next letter," Emma smiled. He hugged her briefly. No drama, just like you hug someone you trust with a piece of yourself. When he left, the city seemed quieter again. But this time it was a different kind of quiet. Not empty, but peaceful. Emma returned to her studio, opened a new project, and for the first time in months, didn't check her email every hour. Not because she didn't want to write, she just no longer needed letters to breathe. 2 weeks later, she received a short message. "Your rainy Seattle appeared in my dream. Without you, it felt hollow. But now I know sometimes it's enough to just meet someone who understands your silence. I don't promise anything. Just thank you." She smiled and replied, "Sometimes that's more than enough." Spring came almost imperceptibly. A new plant appeared on the windowsill, and next to it a sketch of a man looking into the distance. But now he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a woman holding a letter. Emma didn't know if she would see Nathan again. Life might take them on separate paths. But she knew one thing. That accidental letter had once saved her. And maybe it had saved him too. Sometimes love doesn't look like a movie. It doesn't always lead to a happily ever after couple. Sometimes it just teaches two people how to breathe again. And when the rain started again against the window, Emma didn't feel sadness. She simply listened to the drops hitting the glass and thought that in that sound was everything that remained after the silence.